Welcome, Deep Rock Galactic fans, and to all your newcomers as well. My name is Jonas, and I'm from Mood Publishing. And today we're here with Søren.
Yeah, my name is Søren Lundgaard. I'm CEO of Ghost Ship Games and one of the co-founders, along with Mikkel.
Yeah, and I'm Mikkel, and I'm also for Ghost Ship Games, and I am the game director of Deep Rock Galactic, and also co-founder. And then we have Ole.
Yes, I'm Ole Steines. I'm an independent board game designer with a background in the video game industry.
Yeah, today is basically just a Q&A, and where we are talking about the game and why we did the board game as we have. So it's let's just get started. Maybe Mikkel or Søren, you can start by telling your thoughts about the whole thing.
Well, I actually think we should start with the beginning. Of how this all came together.
It started with you, Jonas.
It started with us. I mean, we have at Mood Publishing. I mean, we're all really board game enthusiasts, and I think ever since we actually worked with you guys just in the beginning when you started, we always wanted to create a board game based on Deep Rock Galactic. So I think it was in November 2020 that we reached out and asked if you wanted to be on a journey of transforming Deep Rock Galactic into a board game.
Yeah, and I think that's I think me and Søren are both like to play board games, and I think we were fairly easy to convince that this would be a good idea. So yeah, then the journey of Deep Rock Galactic, the board game, started.
And then we were very lucky with, we all knew Ole from previous work, and as you know, he's a really veteran board game designer. Also, you've done Champions of Midgard, so I think when we got him on the team, we were like pretty set on going. And I mean, we knew it's going to be a difficult thing to do this, but it's been really fun, I think.
I was also very excited to join you guys because, like I said, I come from the computer game industry, and then I turned over and did a lot of board games, and now I could actually mix those two genres and do something very thematic and cool with a video game that was already very cool. So I was pretty excited to get onto this. So.
Yeah, and I think it was a good setup for us at Ghost Ship because basically you can say me and Søren are acting as IP stakeholders in this thing, and basically we have been like, of course, helping Ole playtesting the game, but we have also been sort of like gatekeepers that we got the what people would expect from a Deep Rock Galactic board game into the board game.
Yeah, we've been taking the kind of thinking like the fans, what would they expect from a board game, and how could we incorporate that without making it too annoying to have that feature in, or make it actually work really well with the board game.
If we are going to talk about some of the elements from the computer game that we brought in, it is like this procedural aspect of the cave generation in Deep Rock Galactic. How have we actually converted that into the board game?
Yeah, we mixed in we have the unknown caves, right? And we have the known cave system, and we mix that up so you can get a cave that's different from game to game, but we control like the overall mission objectives and the overall flow, but you don't know what you're actually going to see in there, what you're going to meet, how the caves are actually laid out once you reveal them. So that also gives some replay value and catch some of that explorative feel we have in the computer game, I think.
Yeah, and the fact that you can drill tunnels and sort of like you create the board yourself as you play, I think is very unique to the board game. That we've managed to get that feeling in there, or that experience in.
Yeah, for sure. That was kind of a revelation when we finally kind of nailed that and got this thing about that the gameplay around connecting the cave rooms were really what's going to hopefully set this board game apart.
So we have these player boards in the board game, right? And as you can see here, this is the Scout, and the main weapon from the Scout is actually the M1000. Which is not normally his first primary weapon, and the same goes for the engineer, who has the grenade launcher as his primary weapon. Both the gunner has the minigun, and the driller has the flamethrower. So they are normal primary. But tell a little bit, Ole, about why you made this change.
Yes, I wanted them to feel very different. Of course, they already did that from the computer game. But the reason the Scout has the M1000 is that he can be more of an assassin because he can do that. Not an assassin, a sniper, so to speak. He can do the long range shooting because none of the other guys can do that. They are more like into area control or area damage or mob control. So we have these 4 very different approaches. So you can play with different strategies if you replay the same scenario, you can try a new class and then get a new experience, even if it's just based on the combat part. But of course, they also have their own special abilities, like in the computer game with the platform gun and the grappling gun and all these different elements.
And I think another very cool element in the board game is that when you start the game, you of course choose which class you want to play as, and then you also choose a secondary that is not normally what like for example the engineer would has of a secondary. You can actually choose from the whole pool of secondaries that we have made available in the board game.
Yes, and you can overclock them as well on the fly. We talked about that earlier on, that we wanted this campaign feel in a one single session, so you don't have to play like 5 games to upgrade your dwarf. You can upgrade it within the same game. So we did that. You could actually spend gold during the mission to upgrade your weapon, and then you just flip over your secondary weapon, and then it's way cooler. But of course, if you do that, you take gold that maybe somebody else could have used for something. So again, that collaborative feel is still there, and you can upgrade your dwarf as you go.
At the core of the game is, of course, these guys. Dices.
Dice.
Yes. And there's of course a lot of unique dice in the board game that you roll for both combat and different types of ammunition and mining and so on.
Yeah, that was also something we discussed very early on, because it depends. Like Ole, you needed to know whether we wanted to go for dice or cards, right? Because it's very different feel and very different design.
But it's so tactile to roll the dice, right? So it feels good. Also, when you carve out the caves and dig for minerals, you get to roll dice to do so. Because you can chop an axe at the board game. That will be like a one-time experience. But you can chuck the dice instead. And it's also fun. If you fire a minigun, you should really roll a lot of dice to actually get that oomph feel. But of course, it's a matter of taste. But we certainly went for it. And like Mikkel showed you, we got all kinds of different cool dice specifically for each type of weapon. So lots of plastic stuff in there.
So the whole procedural aspect, right? That the thing that you can go in and play a mission and have like a unique experience every time you play the game. We also have that in the board game, right? With the events and the way that you set up missions and so on. Could you talk a little bit about that, Ole?
Yes, of course. We have the cave, like I said, because that changes every time. We have some of the unknown caves. They're randomized whenever you play the game. But we also have the event cards, like you mentioned, which is like after each player's turn, you draw an event card, and that's all the nastiness or events that can happen in the cave that comes out in a random order, and you can change that by adding, or you can change the difficulty by adding more or fewer of the less nasty cards, but usually you're going to find yourself up against glyphids coming out of the ground or swooping in from above and suddenly dragging you away, or there can be a quake knocking you over, or all kinds of nastiness, and you don't know in what order they're going to come and if they're going to come in your game at all. So that's also a way to randomize the game and have some of the fun chaos you also experience in the computer game, right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely pretty similar to the vision we also had for the computer game originally, where we wanted stuff to be able to go wrong, really badly wrong, right? Because that creates stories. I think you hit that quite well in the design with these elements, the combination of the missions and the event cards.
Then, of course, another big thing from the computer game that we have gotten into the board game is, of course, Rock and Stone. And that's also something that we have been going through a lot of iterations on nailing. And at the end, we came up with this idea that we have these rock and stone cards. Can you tell a little bit about them, Ole?
Yeah, you are very into us having this collaborative feel, and these cards they let you play a lot of different actions that helps other dwarves help the team basically. So basically, you're gonna shout out "rock and stone" or something, some phrases from the game, and then you play this card, and it's gonna help somebody else on the team. So it focuses the collaborative feel in the game.
And I think
it works really well. Like it, even though it's kind of magic, like it's not. We don't really explain how this works. It just works, right? But it just feels really like playing the game, and you rock and stone, and you help your teammates.
Yeah, I think the fun, as we talked about many times before, I think the really cool part is that you really keep onto these cards because they have like this almost magical element to them. So you want to play them at the exact right time. You're like, the team is like, play it now. No, we're gonna wait a bit, and it's your, even though you play it and you only help your teammates, you need to, some of them help more than one teammate, and so it's, in that sense, it always it's a cool card to have, and you can get more of them during the game. So.
And then a final element is, of course, the way we do a resupply, which is yeah.
Should I say? Yeah, we got the of course there's the resupply part from the computer game, and in this game it comes as cards. So when you spend nitro to call down a resupply pod, you don't know exactly what's in it. You know, you get some ammo and some health, but you don't know how much. And that's to kind of randomize stuff more and get more exciting. So, but you get the same stuff basically as in the computer game.
Yeah, and again, I think like the co-op aspect here is, of course, also that the players need to share this between them. So they need to evaluate which class is most in need of ammunition or health or whatnot. What is most important to the team at any given given time, and then they need to share it.
Yeah, we talked a lot about creating table talk. Like when we were doing the various iterations, then we wanted the players to talk about things, right? And they needed to have some information and some limited resources or some knowledge about what's going to happen, and then take decisions based on that. And the resupply definitely fits into those.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're constantly talking. I mean, should I go if someone has fallen over? Is it important that I come and pick you up, or is it more important that I go dig for some more gold or nitra? I mean, it's or maybe just shoot one of the 2 or 3 glyphids attacking us. So it's and you constantly has to evaluate what's the best thing to do in the given situation.
Yeah, and I think the whole challenge of the game is also that you're on a timer, right? So you only have so many turns to actually complete the mission objective.
Yeah, you don't know it exactly, but you feel it. It's pretty much like the computer game, I would say, in that sense.
Yeah, you know, once in a while a swarm is going to trigger, and then the board is going to get flooded with creatures, and if you didn't prepare for that, it's going to be really hard on you. And again, maybe it's not a big swarm, maybe it's just an oppressor or a praetorian coming your direction, but that's pretty nasty as well.
But we did a difference to the end of it, right? Because the drop pod simply stays in the board game, contrary to
again, it's to make it more simple, to cut down on the rule book, and also to give you something to plan for. You know where your entry is and where your exit is, but how you go there and how much tunnel digging you're going to make, and if you're going to put down sentries or you're going to shoot your way through it. There are many different ways to actually get back to the pod, because you know we need to get back there before time runs out.
Yeah, and I think I know we mentioned the whole digging the caves, but it's a really cool element that can add a lot to the gameplay, because you can, even though one cave is open, you can always choose to dig your way another way into it just to attack from another way. So it really adds a lot. And then of course you have the oppressor that can actually just dig through the ground as well and make new caves as well. So,
and that's actually very scary, right? When it's just like goes directly for you and it just goes through the ground.
Exactly, and then it suddenly open a place for all the other glyphids to run that way. So that works really well. Maybe we could also talk about some of the design, because we also did some design decision. I mean, visually, because it's not a. I mean, it's not a one-to-one with the computer game, and I think that's been really really cool having both Søren and Mikkel on the side the whole time, that they were okay with the choices that we did.
Yes, can you tell about what you did? What did you do different?
No, I think one of the main difference is that that we were allowed to do more round stuff, graphic wise. So all the, and I think one of the really really main reason is that once you do something this small, when you take one of the minis out later on, it's, you just wouldn't be able to see the faceted sides on it. It's just smooth. Who has the biggest mini? And it just so we in that sense we were allowed to. And I think it's one of the big things. We're allowed to do round corners, and we're allowed to.
That's a total no-go in the computer game.
Yeah,
we don't have any round shapes at all, and that is that's just a rule.
That's but it I think it really really works well on the minis. We had a really really good sculptor called David, who also done for a lot of other games, and he did a brilliant job on these minis. And some of them we also. Again, when you get the minis, they're not colored or anything. So so we had to differentiate the different glyphs, giving them. The slasher probably has a bit longer claws than he does in the computer game. The exploder has a bigger back than he does in the computer game, and so in that sense, we just exaggerated some of the different design elements for all the characters, and it's just when you go down on scale, it needs to be clear when you play the game as a board game, that you can clearly see the different classes. There's a big difference between the all the different minis, and they're huge. You should definitely show. I mean, the minis in this game, some of them are huge. I mean,
I think this is the oppressor. It's really big, and you can see it compared to the small scout here.
Yeah.
How we'll do a Dreadnought expansion one day. That Dreadnought needs to be like even bigger, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be
fun to fit in the box. Yeah.
So another thing, I'm actually, when we're talking about the figurines, because I mean, guys, to be honest, right? I mean, figurines is also one of the reasons why we really wanted to see the board game made. There was to get all these figurines done. And one thing that I am really happy about is how we got Molly in here. So we have Molly here.
Yeah.
And Molly, basically, of course, in just like in the computer game, right? Your job as dwarfs is to go into the cave and gather gold and other riches, right? And then when you have collected stuff in the computer game, you can see you get some minerals, and then you just like pour them in to Molly and can put the lid on, and then that's where all your loot is.
So Molly's not actually in the gameplay, right? She's standing on the side and just being useful as in the game.
And that's really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah, we had her in the gameplay or some ideas about that very early on, but we realized that we already had a lot of stuff going on the board, so that was a complication that was not really needed for the
yeah, we wanted to streamline gameplay so we could have a fast-paced action game, right? So you don't have to run back and forth to Molly or call Molly to you to get rid of your minerals. You can just focus on looting and shooting and progressing throughout the cave.
All right, but any closing words, Jonas, from you?
No, not other than since you're on the website now, the Kickstarter, I hope you back as well. So it's going to be a great game, and we're writing this in the Kickstarter as well. But I mean, we are very very far with the game, both design and rules. But so we should be able to send it to our producers in the next few months. So we are really aiming to get the game out for everyone here in December 2022. That is definitely our aim.
Bearing any big ships blocking Suez Canal.
Yes, exactly. No, but yeah, Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
Most of it is transportation, right?
We really want the game as well, so
Logistics,
we're not just a prototype. So, and I'm really looking forward to getting all the miniatures. I mean, of course, have a huge number of armies at home, Warhammer armies. So it's going to be good to get some more miniatures to paint.
For sure.
All right, but should we do it?
Yeah.
Okay. On three.
On 3.
1, 2, 3. Rock and
Rock and
roll!
Real dwarves work together. Sign up now.